It's always interesting to do these type of meetings. I'm sure a lot of you are getting accustomed to more and more of this type of meeting. I think yesterday I had 3 of these. Jordan, I can't imagine how many you're going through, but it's always the missing ingredient is just not to get to the touchy-feely part of it, which is something that I enjoy, which I guess I shouldn't say that without my wife being here, but I still do enjoy getting in a closer proximity to the people that we're dealing with. But we're really glad that you're joining us. It's always a great day in Pinal County, and we're glad that you've chosen Pinal Partnership to spend an hour or so with us this morning. We're going to email the recording of this event to everyone as soon as the meeting is over, and you'll be getting that if you want to go back and look at anything. We do have a special meeting coming up. It's another virtual meeting for Pinal Partnership members. It's going to be next Wednesday, which is the 27th at 2 p.m. And it's going to deal with the whole reopening issue and the different things that people are going to be facing with that, and the safety of operations and whatnot that goes on with that. We're going to limit it to 30 minutes, so it's going to be a quick one. Court Rich is going to be leading that particular event. Tim Knievel, the Economic Development Director for the county, and Joel Millman, which is Arizona Work, which is a critical part of the whole reopening aspect that we're always interested in. So without any further ado, because we've got a great panel this morning that I know you're going to enjoy, that is really stretches across the breadth of all of Pinal County with a lot of different ingredients that they'll be bringing to the table. So let me introduce them to you. And again, I know you're going to enjoy each and every one of them. From Boyce, Thompson, Arboretum, if you have not had a chance to get up to Superior and see what they're doing at the Arboretum, you've really missed something. But Lynne Nemeth is here. Good morning, Lynne.
Good morning.
And then from Central Arizona College, our own hardworking president, who has done so much, not only through this crisis that we've been going through, but in leading the whole charge in higher education and whatnot for the county, and the whole attraction that we've been able to do in bringing new business and so forth. And it's Dr. Jackie Elliott. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, thank you.
And then your favorite automobile dealer. This is where you normally see where car dealers are down on the popularity list, you know, down with some of the, I better be careful of what I mentioned is down there with them, but this guy is not in that league. He is up at the top. And Garrett Chevrolet in Coolidge is, and I'm sure he'll tell you how many years they've been there, but going back to the days of his father and so forth, selling, I think, Alice Chalmers tractors and Packard cars, if I remember. Not that I was there, but that's what I see when I go in there. And then from the issue that we're all facing in Pinal County and needing to deal with in a heavy way from Global Water is Ron Fleming, the president of Global Water. And then, of course, our moderator today is Jordan Rose. Jordan?
Hey, how are you? Okay, I want to pan around and see if anybody has as good of a breakfast as they would have when they used to be able to come out to Harold's place for the actual breakfast. No, there's no one. Oh wait, I see some
John.
pulling up. John's got something. I don't know what that is, but it looks like a Klondike bar. I don't know. That's not a breakfast of champions, man. All right, well, let's hold it up. Okay, so and I also want to know if everybody's dressed and ready to go to work today, because I know a lot of us are back at work, and that's what we're talking about today, is how's your business now? How's your business then? What kind of adjustments are we making? And so I want to start actually with Dr. Elliott. Dr. Elliott's on our board, and she's been just so wonderful to Pinal County, visionary, really. I mean, you're really a visionary leader in our state. We're just lucky to have you here, Dr. Elliott. So talk to us a little bit about the college and how you're dealing with, dealt with it, the moment that you heard that this was happening. What did you guys do?
Thank you for the fabulous compliment, Jordan, but it takes a team, so I can't take all the credit. Actually, we were on spring break when really all of this kind of started hitting the tipping point, I'll call it. And in fact, I was, I hated this, but we were on getting ready to go into spring break. It was, I think, a Sunday as we were getting ready to go into spring break. And I called my VPs, which I hated to do on a Sunday. And I said, hey, we need to think about what happens after spring break, because I don't think we can bring our students back. I don't think we should bring our faculty and staff back. So we came up with a plan to basically extend spring break another week so that faculty could go ahead and convert their classes to online, and so that we could prepare to be virtual as a college. And it really forced us to, we use Microsoft Teams to move into that platform of doing things virtually. We chose very conscientiously to use the word virtual instead of online, because when you talk about learning and students and how students learn, online is asynchronous, and we wanted things that were synchronous, that flowed and allowed students to interact. And so really we kind of, we were fortunate as a community college. When I talk to my presidential colleagues across the state, many of them were finishing up spring break, but we really were fortunate in the fact that we had spring break as a buffer to get us ready to prepare to move everything to virtual for our students, because that was the most important thing. When I talked to the VP team, I said we have two goals: health and safety and continued learning for our students. And so that's kind of how we went into it. And hopefully that answers your question. And thanks for letting me be first.
Yeah, that does. How did the students react? Students
are incredibly adaptable. I've just been so amazed by our students. They adapted, they moved right into the virtual format. Our faculty and staff were incredibly creative. And I give this example. So we have a massage therapy program. And part of that program's hands-on, but our faculty had our students videotape themselves or live stream themselves massaging family members and practicing those techniques so that they could evaluate their skills. And it was in total creativity and ingenuity on our faculty and staff. And we were forced out of our comfort zone, but in the long run, our main goal was to continue learning for our students, and our students adapted. They appreciated the responsiveness of the college, and I get emails. I did several forums with students where I get on like Zoom, and they could ask Q&A. We're still doing that with students weekly, whether it's a VP, a dean of students, myself, just to stay in touch with students. But the students, they adapted better probably than I did, that's for sure.
That's great. Well, and I like, so the hands-on massage therapy classes. Now everybody check this, right? Because I know I'd like to enroll my husband, for example, in this program, because they have to massage their family members in order to get credit. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure their family members don't want to.
Bonding thing.
Their family is probably hoping we don't go back to face in the fall.
Amazing. That's totally amazing. Great. Okay, Ron. Ron is with Global Water. You've served on our board. You serve as the chair of our water committee, which is so important. But today, let's talk about your business. How's it impacted the water company?
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Good morning, everyone. Great to see so many familiar faces and names. Yeah, look, we are truly an essential service, and I think that's becomes quite evident during a health pandemic, where the recommendation from everybody is to wash your hands, 20 times a day. So look, it doesn't infect our business like it does many of yours, although it certainly heightens the importance of it, and there's lots of changes that we did need to make to deal with the pandemic ourselves. So look, as an essential service, we went to full social distancing and implemented a emergency operations plan quite early. We actually did it before the governor declared a state of emergency here in Arizona. And what that meant for us was we closed our customer service walk-in facilities. We eliminated all external or group meetings pretty early. Our operations personnel, who clearly cannot work from home, we made changes there whereby they really just took their vehicles and we made them mobile offices. So they're allowed to take their vehicles home now, and they report directly to the field and go to their facilities and do their site checks and do all those things like that. And obviously the intent of all of those measures was to prevent, person-to-person contact or spread, because we have to keep our employees safe, which is always our top priority, so that they're available to run the systems. No matter how bad the pandemic gets in our communities, we have to keep the water flowing. We have to obviously keep the wastewater and provide that safe and reliable service. So we did that really early. The measures went well. We're fortunate that as a company, we're quite automated. Our systems, from the technology that operates our infrastructure in the field to the customer service and online account management tools we provide our customers, are pretty advanced and automated on that front. And so we've really been able to rely on that more. And I think that's probably when we look at silver linings in these things, I think a good thing for our industry is it's kind of forced that more, which I think is important for both the utilities and customers. Like, we've had 7 ways to pay online outside of customers walking into our facilities for a decade now. It's just hard to get people to utilize that or not write a check and send it in, because that's what they're used to. But now we've really been able to direct them more to our online account management tools, which have lots of great features for them, for not just paying bills, but managing their usage, putting in conservation measures, things like that. So we made a lot of changes, but wherever we could, as we made those changes, we've really tried to get the benefits out of what those changes has forced us to really embrace.
Great. Good. Jim Garrett, I don't know if you guys are in the market for cars, but you should be, and Jim's your guy. So Jim, you've been just a stellar business person in Pinal County for many, many years, decades. And I so admire what you've done there and what you continue to do. How was your business before the virus hit?
Had in February, took off real well. It was tracking very well, and then when the governor came out towards the end of March, it changed a little bit. People were more concerned, and we started taking chairs out of our customer waiting and cleaning a lot more, doing a lot of things. But we had an average month in March and April for 2019, and business is real good. Service is good. Salespeople are a lot more online activity about April from the month before, but people are stuck at home too, and they have a lot more time. But business is great. It is down a little bit for March and April, but otherwise it's strong.
Your connection's a little foggy, but talk to us about, service, did that not go down at all?
It did go down a little bit, but we had a pretty good backlog as it was, but you had to change the way you did service. We do touch-free service. You can drop it off. You may never see us, and we'll clean the car inside and out, put your keys, sanitize your keys, put them in a bag. You can drop off and pick up, and you'll never even see us. And we sanitize the vehicles. We, of course, the dealership, we keep cleaning it every couple hours, and just trying to keep everybody safe and comfortable to come in the door. And because we are an essential industry, so it took a little different work, but it was fine.
That's great. That's just great. And how have you, as a business owner, have you kept your employee morale up? And I'm going to ask the others about this in a second too, but I just thought it.
Well, we stayed positive and told them if they were uncomfortable, they wanted to go home, or we worked around their schedule, whatever they wanted to do. And most wanted to be here. Some took a little time off or used some time, but most everybody, and we kind of went to little split shifts and different things, but just kind of worked around it. Everybody stayed pretty positive, which just a little worried about test drives and different things like that occasionally, but we worked around it and wore gloves, and we're pretty safe. Masks, a little bit of masks and different things.
Nice. Well, it's quite an adaptation. So that's great. Lynne, we're so happy to see you. Wow, what a time to be the head of a great place to be outdoors, Boyce Thompson Arboretum. I mean, that's just an amazing thing because we can all go hiking and do these things. And so, have you seen your business pick up in any way, or how has that affected you? How did the virus affect your business?
Well, we actually, I was in touch with my colleagues at the Desert Botanical Garden and also Tucson to find out about how they were responding. And we decided that since we have a primarily outdoor venue, that we could actually stay open. But we made a lot of adjustments. We canceled events and tours and specialty walks, anything that was going to bring people together in large groups. So we actually did see a drop in revenue. We have been experiencing a drop in revenue as a result of that. But we've been able to also increase our virtual presence, which is something that we had been thinking about doing anyway. So it's given us an opportunity to focus in on that. So we are very pleased as an outdoor venue that we were able to stay open.
So what are you doing virtually? What's the virtual presence? What are you doing?
We're doing tours and talks online for people. We've also had several webinars. We had one about the geology of Boyce Thompson Arboretum that had over 500 people participate. So we're trying to add that to our offerings as we go forward.
Oh, it's very cool. Well, Melissa, we'll have to make sure we post the offerings because that sounds fantastic. But there's nothing parallel to getting out there and being at your facility because it's just so,
yeah,
so
that's right.
amazing.
We were pleased that the governor said that parks and being outside were essential, and the latest news shows that this is one of the safest places that you can be is outside. So
yes, indeed. What are you seeing a different demographic at all from a visitor perspective, or is it your regulars that are coming back, or are you seeing a lot of new faces, or can you tell that at this point?
Yeah, well, a lot of our snowbirds and our volunteers left early because of the virus, and that's a big portion of our visitation, but also our volunteer corps. So that's really greatly affected that piece. But what we've been seeing is new people coming out during the stay-at-home order, and even prior to that, we are seeing people, more local people looking for some place to go that wasn't particularly crowded. You probably all saw the crowds of people at some of the parks in Phoenix. So we're seeing some new people come out, which is great.
That is great. Now tell us, okay, if somebody's not familiar with your facility, but maybe they've been to the Desert Botanical Gardens in Tempe, or maybe they've been down to Tucson, what is yours like compared to others? Just walk us through. If we walked into Boyce Thompson, what would we be doing?
Well, you'd go through a breezeway area into the main part of the Arboretum. We're actually 350 acres, so we are quite large in comparison. We're actually the largest botanical garden in the state of Arizona. So lots to see. We have 135 acres that are cultivated with plants, but four plus miles of hiking trails. So it's a much more natural setting. So it's it's a very park-like. And we have collections of desert plants from around the world. So beautiful place to go and very easy to social distance there as well.
So if I wanted to take my family and go hiking, I could just roll up and go to Boyce, Thompson. No problem.
Yes. Well, we do have an admission fee.
And pay the admission fee, of course. Yes, of course. Perfect. Well, that's great. Well, this is good and something that I know everybody's looking to do when the weather is still miraculously so cool for this time of the year, right? So that's at least a blessing. Okay, I want to talk to all of you first about, as I asked Jim, how have you kept your morale up? How have you kept your employee morale up as leaders in your business? I think everybody is a leader in either their family or their business, or I see a number of mayors and council members are on the phone today, or on the Zoom call today. And I know everybody's working hard to try to find the best ways to keep employee and community morale up. So tell us what you've done. Dr. Elliott, why don't we start with you and move to Ron?
Well, one of the things that I did is the very first week I sent out an email, a district-wide email about the current situation. I do a same email, very similar, every Monday, because communication is really important when you're dealing with crisis. So we have a crisis communication plan that we follow. The second thing that we've done is every week, the first few weeks I did twice a week, an hour-long check-in and chat with the president, where any employee could sign on to a Teams, like a Zoom meeting. We just talked about anything they wanted to talk about, any questions they want to have. I do those now weekly still, but they're 30 minutes because there's a lot less questions. The VPs do that as well, check in and chat with the VPs weekly, where people can ask any question. The other thing that our talent development team, we call human resources talent development, they do a virtual happy hour every Thursday at 6 o'clock that people can log on and just talk so that we can stay connected. Weekly, I send a text to just anybody in the organization, just checking in on them. How are you doing? I know you're homeschooling, just checking on you to make sure you're doing okay. Our health and wellness committee sends out a weekly how to stay mentally healthy and well during the COVID. We do have an employee assistance program. We send out a notice about that weekly about how people can access free counseling. And the other thing that we did is we did allow employees to cash out up to 40 hours of vacation. Just because we don't know family situations, what's happening with work situations in their home. And that seemed to be something that was really appreciated by employees to be able to cash out because a lot of people plan to take vacations and they can't go anywhere right now. So they were able to cash out 40 hours of vacation. So I meet daily with the VPs and we talk about that very thing. How do we keep morale up? We try to uplift each other. We encourage people to take, afternoons off or days off, because right now we're all tied to our devices all day long, whether it's a Teams meeting or responding to email or doing the work that we do. And that is extremely draining. And we talk about that weekly, about how to be mindful about people's time, knowing that a lot of our employees are not only trying to teach students, they're also trying to teach their children that are home with them or caring for elderly people in their home. And so being very mindful, no texts, no emails after 6 o'clock. Try to stay away from texting and emailing people on the weekends. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do. I've been reading a lot of Winston Churchill. I think he was a great leader during a crisis time. And so those are the things that we're doing. We're always open to any ideas or suggestions. So I'm looking forward to hearing what my colleagues are doing, because I believe there's more we can always do.
Thank you for that. What would Winston Churchill do here, or what did you take from Winston Churchill that you'd want to share?
Be present all the time. Be consistently present. You can't hide.
Everyone turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras. I see there's a lot of people on the phone.
And that's why, it's uncomfortable for me, a natural introvert, and as a leader, to say, hey, join me on a Teams call or every week for 30 minutes. And I might have a baseball cap on or a t-shirt or no makeup, but you know what, it is what it is, and you invite people into your home and you have those 30-minute conversations. And even though it's uncomfortable, that's what you need to do. People need to see their leaders during times of crisis.
Amen.
With or without makeup.
Amen. Ron, what are you guys doing at Global to keep employee morale up and lead the company?
So I really subscribe to the 5 C's of crisis leadership. I don't got time to go through all 5 today, but the first 2 go towards the question in morale, and that's communication and community and customer support. So on the communication side, obviously reaching out to our customers, reaching out to our other stakeholders are important, but from an employee perspective and a morale perspective, what we started doing was recording fairly frequent videos, which is something we just hadn't done as a company before. So myself or other members of the senior management team, we pick the important topics of the week, and we record videos and we post them to an internal share drive, and that's been a great method of communication, and we've gotten good feedback on it. And what we found is then it's there forever. It's a little bit different than when you're just sitting in a meeting and you communicate a message to someone once, but it's there and we're creating a library. So that's really something that we've been utilizing and intend to continue to utilize after the COVID pandemic changes, because it's useful.
What are you doing on the videos?
Well, just giving updates, obviously talking about sorry, my light just went out. Let me get that. No motion in the office. There we go. So updates on our COVID-19 emergency response plan, updates with things we're doing in the community with our customers, milestones we've met as a company. So just kind of the things that we otherwise would typically have covered in meetings and emails and other things. We're just making it a focus to try to get it on video and get it out to everybody. The next thing we did was we sent everybody a gift basket, and I can't take a credit for that. It's an idea I saw with a different company, but we sent all of our employees a gift basket with a gift card, just saying, hey, we don't get to see you, but we're thinking of you and hope you're doing well. And we also tied that to a milestone that the company hit. So we actually just passed 1,000 days without an OSHA reportable event. So from a safety perspective, that's a fairly significant milestone. And so we wanted to celebrate that and not miss that, because we're dealing with this pandemic and not together. So we sent something to each of their houses for them and their families. On the community side, we've done quite a bit. So first thing, obviously this is an economic crisis as much or more than it is a health crisis. And so we realize this is kind of unprecedented times, and there's a lot of community members that are hurting. So from a crisis management perspective, I think the best way to build morale is just to be present in your community and support without an expectation of return. And so what we've done is we've expanded our low-income relief tariff. We have built up about $500,000 of funds that we can use to help people that are struggling and paying their utility bills. So we expanded that program to apply to different groups, including veterans and military personnel overseas and just people that are struggling right now. So we did that. We stopped disconnects. Obviously, you don't want to disconnect your customers during a health pandemic. So we voluntarily did that early on, stopped late fees, things like that. And we're working with our customers that are struggling to pay their bills. And then we're supporting the local food banks and things like that. I think if you can do those things and bring your employees into helping do those things, it helps your own internal morale quite a bit. So we're continuing to focus on what else we can do for the broader community.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Lynn, can you talk to us about, and I think, a lot of your volunteer population, I assume, is in a high risk category in terms of getting together with people and being older and not recommended, to go out at all right now. How have you kept your morale up?
Well, I loved what Dr. Elliott said. I just finished reading a book about Churchill. Yes, being
What did you take from the Churchill book?
you have to be, well, you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to take risks too. And not everything is going to work in times of crisis, but being present and communicating and being out there and making decisions. People like to see that. What we did, or what I did, was very similar. We offered PTO to people if they needed it. I was in communication with them, with our staff all the time, and assuring them that they were going to have their jobs. I mean, that was a really important thing, and also made us think about what our biggest asset is at the Arboretum, and that's our grounds and our plants. That's why people come. So keeping that staff on was very important. We joined the shared work program at DES so that when people's hours were cut, they were able to get at least partial unemployment benefits. And then we got a PPP loan, and which we plan on turning into a grant. So that we were able to keep everybody employed. And without that, I think we would be in very different circumstances than we are. But again, the communication has been key, and also communication from our board of directors to me and to the staff, how important it was keeping our people on. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, it sounds like we should have a book club about Churchill, so we can organize that. Dr. Elliott will organize that. That'll be later. Well, I know we've got, I mean, in the audience, I see Mayor McFarland for Casa Grande, Mayor Mila Bishesh from Superior, two great leaders, Supervisor House, Councilman Anderson, Councilwoman Wall. I'm thinking that I'm probably missing 16 others, but I'll keep going. In any case, thank you all for your leadership. Really, it's just phenomenal. I would ask that people go ahead and submit some questions to the chat, because I'm throwing all these softballs here, and we want some hardball questions this morning over the bad breakfast that you guys are eating because we can't be at Harold's place. Okay, so I want to talk to you, all of you, and we'll start with Jim Garrett about things that you've done in this kind of crisis that you're happy that you've done, that like these things you've implemented are really things that, you know, who knew that you needed to, but now that you're doing it, this is better and you're going to continue to do it. Do you have anything like that? Like lessons, you know, good things that have come out of it, positive things? Jim?
The main thing we've done is done a lot more online. We're pretty good online, but we've installed a little bit more. It's easier to buy a car online. We've always been very easy to deal with, but it's easier now, and you can go through practically the whole process without ever seeing us. A little bit of chat or a little bit of this or that. We can get the deal done. It's not difficult, and that's an evolving thing in our business. And that would be the main thing that we've done that's different, and we are moving that direction. This helped us move faster and get a better product, and we have a real good product now. And just being like everyone said, you just take care of your people, and you're here all the time. Both my sons and myself, and you know, you're just talking to people and making sure you're trying to keep the employees safe and give them time, and the customers safe, and I think we're seeing a lot more people coming back now and waiting. The customer waiting there for a while was virtually empty, but now it was about half full yesterday, and I'm sure as people adjust, it'll get better, but we're still cleaning and taking care of our customers, taking care of our employees.
Jim, what are most people when they come in, what are your customers telling you they're concerned about the most? Is it, I don't want to get in a car with a test drive, or what's the biggest conversation that you have of concern?
Well, they just want to make sure that, you know, they see you in gloves, and if some are in masks, some aren't. You don't necessarily get in a test drive with people. That is one thing that we did change. But a lot of people that do come in, you know, they're prepared they have gloves and a mask if that's what they want, and you kind of read how they want to handle it, and then you just, you know, they see you cleaning all the time and taking care of everything, and we offer them water or anything they want, you know, and just try to take care of them, keep them safe as best we can. People are very understanding. It's been real good, actually.
Jim, what about on the online car sales? I mean, I know I could get online right now and order a Tesla and it could be delivered to me in, I don't know how many months, but in any case, you're starting to sell more just purely based online, or are these customers coming in, or how does that feel? And then also, is the online customer a demographic that is a certain demographic, or is it all across the board?
No, the online customer is all across the board because everyone's getting more and more digital all the time. But most people will research. 10 years ago, the average customer went into 5 car dealerships and looked at vehicles. Now they go into 1.3 dealerships. So everybody's doing their research online, or practically everybody, and they've got a pretty good idea what they're looking for. And if you don't have something they're looking for, then you just don't see them. They don't call, they don't come in. About half of those customers never call or anything. They just come in because they still want to touch and feel a car, and every car is different. You need to look at them and see how they fit, and then you can look at other cars that are beside it or similar to it. So it's all across the board. You'd think that, you know, it'd be mostly the younger people, but the older people are looking, and everybody has so much time now. That's the one thing that's amazing, is so many people are home or working from home that I think they're doing a little shopping while they're working. You know, I'm not sure they're all working so hard. Anyway, it's when they come in, they have a pretty good idea usually what they're looking for.
Is it just one other question? Nationally, do you know what the percentage is the high end car sales? Are they more down because of this than the low end, or is the low end up, or what? I don't know. So I'm just wondering.
Well, you know, there is a little bit of a shortage of new cars because they keep building those. On the used, what's interesting is on the inexpensive cars, that's where you're going to generate a lot of your leads, because a lot of people can afford it. If you have a couple $1,000 truck or something like that, I mean, the lead will go through the roof because everybody kind of needs a couple $1,000 truck, or maybe a $5,000 truck or something like that. We sell anything and about anything and everything, and we explain. But there are a lot of people for a lot of different things, as you all know, because we all do.
Thanks, Jim. All right, Dr. Elliott, thanks for all that. That's great insight. Dr. Elliott, talk to us about anything that you've implemented that you think you're going to keep, that this you found something that was great.
Without question, virtual advising we'll keep, virtual tutoring, virtual meetings, definitely we're going to keep. I'm going to continue to do an all campus check-in and chat with the president virtually. There are so many things. Our business model will never go back to the way it was before. And I remind everybody that every week is we will not go back to business as usual. Our students will need to be able to choose if they want to interact with us face-to-face or virtually. So everything that we do, we need to provide virtually. Library services, tutoring, advising, instruction, paying their bills, that students will be able to have a choice. And I think that's awesome. I think it's wonderful. I think it's long overdue, that students are our customer and they should be able to choose how they want to interact and learn with us. And so I'm really excited to see how we look differently when we come back, because we'll look very different, and students will interact with us differently. So those are the things we're going to keep.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. I see Councilwoman Barker here, so I wanted to acknowledge her and her leadership. She's been on our board for some time and has been really helpful. So thanks for your leadership. And Supervisor House is also here. Okay, Ron, talk to us about anything that Global is seeing in this that you're going to keep implementing even after, and that you're happy that you're doing now?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned a few of them earlier when it comes to videos and things like that. We're definitely going to continue to do that. But I think it's interesting. This type of situation really makes you focus on what matters most, and that's the principle I want to keep employing. And what matters most is typically people. And so it's odd that at a time where it's becoming clear how important all the people matter, you're also being forced to adopt new technology and do it in a different way. And those things kind of seemingly diverge, but they don't have to. They can converge if you do it right. And so things like Zoom calls, videos, et cetera, is exactly what we have to focus on, because it is going to be I think the new reality of the future. So one specific example on changes we've made that probably is making me think even differently than I did in the past is our call center. So when we went to full social distancing as a company, we immediately moved our call center out, right? Because those are cubes that are typically close together. It's a large team and your standard office space. And so we quickly deployed laptops to all of them, made sure they had good internet at home, and moved them home. And what's interesting is our call center metrics that we track really closely have improved. They've improved. And there's probably a lot of reasons for that. But if any of my call center reps or managers are on this call, I'm not saying we don't want to welcome you back with open arms at the right time and continue to see you face to face in some way. We'll figure out how that works. But it does make us stop and think. Like, there are past norms that we are proving can be improved. And so call center and those roles that don't have to physically be here, can you actually improve performance by keeping them home and having the right technology systems in place?
That's fascinating. That really is fascinating. And yes, somebody just privately chatted me and asked me what I was doing. I'm formulating a really strong cup of green tea. Yes, it's incredibly green. You are correct. So it's a little caffeine boost because it's been a long, long week. I see some of you sipping coffee. So, all right, Lynne, what about you? What have you put in place that you think you'll keep?
Well, since we are ultimately a conservation organization, one of the things that has fascinated me about the shutdowns is seeing the reduction in pollution locally and just everywhere around the world, and also seeing animals come back. It's really been one of the plus, probably the only plus side really of this virus. I think one of the things that we're definitely going to keep is the people who can work from home. We are going to encourage them to do that. Not all the time, obviously, but a few days a week, cut down on commuting. So that's something that we're definitely going to continue. I think continuing more flexible hours again with the staff that can actually do that in their positions, just to being more cognizant of people's personal situations and what works best for them, and sticking to a really strict regimen sometimes does not make any sense and doesn't need to happen. So those are things we're definitely going to continue to do. This has also pointed up some of the inadequacies in the way that our setups have been. So I think going forward, we're going to be looking at how we have set up some of our classes and tours and our gift shop and things like that. So, and this is giving us a chance to kind of step back and look at some of those things and improve them.
And from a setup perspective, are you talking about because of the new distancing, or are you just
yes, because of the new distancing, and which is probably going to be continuing. And we want to be safe. We want our employees to be safe. We want our visitors to be safe. So Yes, continuing to do that until probably there's a vaccine or some kind of a medication treatment. So we're really looking into that right now. How can we continue to do what we're doing in a more organized and better implemented way?
Lynn, let me ask you a question, because I know all of us are, in some respects, if it's our backyard or if we're on a hike, we have seen more animals, we see less airplanes, we see less pollution, we smell less pollution. It's pretty great. But what, from your perspective, and what's the difference between the animals that you saw before and now? I mean, this is your life, this is your actual job. So how do you reflect on that or quantify it?
Well, it could be that with people being at home more and people walking outside more locally, they're just paying more attention. I just saw an article somewhere about how this is a time to be a backyard birder, because people are sitting in their offices like I am right now, and I actually have my binoculars here to look out the window at birds. Which probably,
That's
is
awesome.
not a great idea when you're trying to work, but.
It's better than looking out the window at your neighbors with the binoculars. I mean, just saying.
So I think that people are paying more attention. I think that people are getting out more. And I think it's a way of, frankly, getting us offline. I think we're online so much right now. I know I am, that getting outside is kind of a relief. So that's
Yeah, thank you. No, that's great. I think I generally was at my house pacing around all day, putting miles on my body, walking back and forth across my yard and noticing really literally every flower and all that stuff. And that was pretty cool. So, all right, let's talk what your business is going to be like in 6 to 12 months. What do you think? And I think that the biggest question on that is really our education system, or I should say it's the biggest question, but it's a question that all parents want to know. And I know you're in higher education, but Dr. Elliott, can you talk to what at least your college is going to do? At least what you think your college is going to do?
Oh boy, in 6 to 8 months.
Yes. How about upon reopen in fall? What is your thought? I know ASU and Dr. Crow and U of A have announced that they're going to reopen in fall. What will you do?
We will be open in the fall. I don't want to use the word reopen because we never closed.
Thank you.
We continue to serve our students, but when we are back on campus physically, you will see signage about 6 feet apart, hand washing. Our classrooms that once held 50 students will probably hold 25. You will see increased sanitation stations, increased cleaning. You will see probably a lot less people physically on campus, because those that can continue to work from home, we have a grant writer, he can write grants from home, probably will. My biggest concern is a flare up in the fall. And as you know, schools and educational institutions are breeding grounds for germs, because you daily have multiple numbers of people congregating. And so we're going to be very, very cautious. Probably if you come to an event in the Pent Center, you won't be able to sit right next to somebody unless they're a family member. We'll space you out. So there's a lot of logistics that are involved in what it's going to look like when we're physically back on campus. Events, campus dining is going to look different, student activities. We may not even, our sports teams may practice. They may actually be in competitions, but there may not be any spectators that are there to watch our student athletes. So that's what I envision for the fall, is that we will be a lot more cautious and mindful. Our students will all have single occupancy rooms without having to pay. Usually when you want a single occupancy room in a residence hall, you pay a little bit more. for that convenience, but we're going to provide that to our students at the same cost for safety and safety reasons. You'll see a lot more meetings that will be virtual. You will see classes that are more virtual, and that students can only come to campus to do their hands-on skills assessment and labs, but most of their classes might be done virtually. So, and I think that business model will continue for beyond 6 to 8 months, but maybe into forever for higher ed. We are offering students 3 free, if you haven't enrolled yet and you want to take a class with us this summer, you get 3 credits free. So spread the word. And we are being mindful about grow our emergency fund for our students. We weren't able to distribute our CARES funds, but our students are struggling as well. And for them to be able to be in school, but also maybe caring for family members and or losing their jobs, you're going to see a lot more scholarship dollars probably spread out, more opportunities for students to have free credits. So that's kind of what I envision, and that's what we're planning for.
That's great. That's great. And sorry if
you kind of froze up on us, Jordan.
We've lost you, Jordan.
Well, look, I'm happy to go next. Let's keep the same order we've been going. I'll jump in
Good
here.
idea.
So yeah, I'll answer that question in a little bit of a different way, other than just my company 8 to 12 months from now. I think that longer term, another silver lining of this whole thing is pretty big for Arizona and Pinal County. And I think that ultimately the way everybody's relooking at their businesses, the way countries are looking at supply chains, I just think that the amount of reshoring and relocations that are going to happen to different areas for different reasons line up really well for what Arizona and Pinal County can offer. And so what we're doing as a company is just building on what we've obviously been doing the last 15, 20 years in Pinal County, is being ready for that. I mean, I think that the industrial growth, commercial growth, and even residential growth is going to be very strong for Pinal County coming out of this. And we need to be ready for it. So one of the bad things that happened on the waterfront, that's kind of where we started on this meeting with the first comment about my introduction, is look, the bad news is we did work really hard to get some legislative changes done this session. And, based on what's going on down at the Capitol, doesn't look like any of those bills that we'd worked hard to get through the process are going to actually be heard. You never know. There's still some things that might happen where 1 or 2 of them get approved, but I think the odds are pretty small on that. But we got to keep working on that during this time. We've got to get these legislative changes done. We've got to keep building our water resources master plans, moving through the basin study that Pinal Partnership is sponsoring, and getting the county ready for the type of growth that's going to come our way on the other side.
it is really, no, thank you for that. And sorry, my building had a fire alarm in the middle of this, so I apologize. If you saw me running, I was running because the fire alarm was on. So that's lovely. In any case, I want to go around before we stop today and just say what do you miss the most and what did you miss the least? And let's start with Jim. Miss the most, miss the least.
And the customers, we have a lot of customers that come in all the time. 50 now.
Jordan, he's out in Coolidge. They don't have very good coverage out there.
We lost him. He's not on anymore. He got kicked off, I guess.
It's still 9 o'clock in Casa Grande, Mayor.
That's right. It's always 9 o'clock here.
Yeah. We should move that to 5.
All right, I'm not sure what happened to me here, but I had a fire alarm at my office, and I don't know if you can hear me again.
Yes, we can.
Yes. All right. Just let's circle around the horn with what did you miss the most and what did you miss the least in this time, and then we'll come to a close.
I'll go. What I miss the most is all of our volunteers. So we've had a huge number of volunteers over the years, and many of them are, as Jordan pointed out, in that age range. And so we miss having them around and helping us out in very many ways. I just in general miss having crowds of people. So how that's going to work going forward is going to be interesting to see. Do I miss the least? Crowds of people? No, I don't know.
Well, you said pollution earlier, so I think that's
right,
a
pollution.
good one,
Pollution.
right?
Yes.
There you go. All right, Dr. Elliott, what do you miss the most and what do you miss the least?
I miss the most seeing my colleagues and students in person. I really miss watching the learning occur and seeing our students actively engaged in their classes. I miss our colleagues. I don't know what I miss the least. Maybe I feel like meetings are a lot shorter now when we do them in Teams or Zoom. So I miss really long. I miss the least long meetings, I guess. It seems like they move a lot faster.
Really good. Jim, what do you miss the most? What do you miss the least?
I think we lost him.
Oh, we did. Okay. And Ron, what about you?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It sounds cliche, but obviously do miss the people the most, the direct interaction. But personally, I miss concerts. I've had a lot of them canceled. I'd like concerts to come back someday. But after that, what I miss the least, traffic on the 347.
That's really good. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of our friends in Pinal County is going to be the first in the country to bring back a live concert. Our company that we started, Healthy Verified, just certified a Live Nation Rawhide event for next weekend. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, right. It's going to be amazing. It'll be really creative and cool and very exciting to hear how they're going to do it, I think. Well, I can't thank you all enough for spending the time with us. And I apologize. I think I could be on the bloopers for bad Zoom call hosts where I get a fire alarm in the middle of the thing and I run down the stairs with my laptop, which broke as I ran. So I apologize for the screwiness. Harold, you want to close us out?
Sure, be glad to. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I think there's just a lot of great takeaways from today's meeting. I would suggest that we stop by a car from Jim Garrett, then end up getting some water over in Maricopa from Ron. Maybe take a little tour in our new car up at the Arboretum, and then ultimately end up reading another chapter in Winston Churchill's book. But just great ideas, wonderful cross-section, guys, of what our county is all about. Thank you all for participating. Don't forget, Wednesday the 27th, we have our kind of mini group that's going to come together and talk about how we're going to be reopening and the issues that people are going to face doing that. So please encourage your employees, yourselves to join us in the 30-minute meeting at that time. So thanks again for being here. We'll have another one of our regular breakfasts coming up next month. We don't have the date set yet, but we will here shortly, and we'll be getting that out to you. Melissa, anything that you have? You're good?
Good to go.
All right. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.